or if it would be the outside.
I don't know, we're at the institute, so we don't actually have students.
Okay, guys, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start out with the pledge of allegiance. Joanna, if you would, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. Appreciate that. The first thing on the agenda, since we do not have minutes to vote on today, will be the public comments. But these public comments, this section is limited to public comments that are not part of point 3 or 4 on the agenda, which is part of the public hearing tonight for the rezoning and the conditional use permit. So those will follow. So is there anyone here that wishes to speak tonight on any other issues?
We don't have an agenda. We don't know what 3 and 4 are.
It's,
Oh, okay.
sorry, right up here. So 3 and 4 are the public hearing tonight, which we're talking about the rezoning and we're talking about the conditional use permit. The two go hand in hand.
Okay.
So seeing no one, let's close point 2 and open up point 3. What I'd like to remind everyone too is during the public hearing, direct your comments to the commissioners up here, and we're going to limit our discussion points till after both point 3 and 4 have been completed. So, saying that, is there anyone here? Well, let me read it first. Public hearing for the rezoning request for Caldwell Construction applicant for an approximately 4.52 acre property owned by Sandra Hawks and Janice Blevins et al. Located between the eastern and western terminus of Vinnie Avenue Northwest, 100 Vinnie Avenue Northwest, tax map number 435-A-45. The request is to rezone the property from the R-1A rural residential district to the R-1 single-family residential district with proffers. The property is designated as residential on the future land use map of 2013 Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Please state your name and your address.
Good evening. Steve Simoes with Baldwin Associates, 80 College Street, Suite H. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, who's one of the applicants is with us tonight as well. Is Planning Commission okay if I speak without my mask on? So here representing the applicants tonight. What I'd like to do is explain a little bit about the project, and if it pleases the commission, I may speak about item number 3 and item number 4, as the chair said, they're kind of hand in hand. One, the rezoning, and then the conditional use permit. We do have some slides that Will's gonna move through for us from the computer over there. Will, if you wouldn't mind. So the property. So the property we're looking at tonight is approximately 4.5 acres. So this is an overall aerial of the just north of Pepper's Ferry Road. Pepper Ferry here you see on the south side of the property near River Valley Mall. The property we're looking at is this square of green right in here. You see Slate Creek Commons on the left and the Karma Heights subdivision on the right. Part of what we'll be talking about tonight is Vinnie Avenue, which is this section of road right here and that section right there. What we have proposed is approximately 18 proposed lots that would be built as patio homes. Those are single story, single level living. Will, would you move to the next slide, please? It's a little bit, we'll move to the layout here in just a minute, a little bit better blow up of the site. Again, you see the property here outlined in black. Again, basically one gut of property off of Pepper's Ferry Road. Access on Benny is off of Stafford to the Carmel Heights subdivision and off of Walters Drive here to get into Slate Creek. Next slide, please. This is just an existing condition. It's a little hard to see on the plan here. But again, this is a survey that we did for the applicants. Again, there's Benny on the Slate Creek side, on the Carmel Heights side. You see there's an existing sanitary sewer line that runs through the property right here, comes down, jogs off on property right here. Drainage, currently the site kind of forms a bowl and flows in a northwesterly direction. It's hard to see on this map, and I'll show you a better plat in a few slides, but there was a 50-foot access, ingress egress easement that was dedicated to the town of Christiansburg that connected the right of way on Benny here to the right of way here. You can see it noted. There we go, right there. That was dedicated, I believe, in 2012, when some lots north of this that were owned by the current property owners were subdivided. Go to the next slide, please. This is the concept plan. So again, we have 18 single-family detached lots. These would be for sale product. Each one patio home style, very similar to the Wynwood project, if you know, off of Bradford. Let's see. So 18 lots, 1 through 10 on the south side of Benny Drive, and 11 through 18 here. We have about a half an acre shown. On this side, there's the sanitary sewer line we talked about earlier. About half an acre of open space, stormwater management area right here, which again is kind of the bowl where all the property drains right now. Each home will have a driveway and a garage. Currently, what we have proposed are setbacks of 25-foot front yard setbacks, 25-foot rear yard setbacks, and 5-foot side yard setbacks. Oftentimes in patio home subdivisions, you do have small side yard setbacks and keep about 10 plus feet in between the units, lot to lot. A management company is planned to be responsible to take care of all the yard work, the mulching, the mowing, anything on the grounds that would be needed for this development. A lot of times in our rezonings and projects we bring before planning commission, overall maintenance of property is something that's discussed. So this was one thing we looked at very early on. There would be a management company that could basically take care of all that for the homeowners themselves. No dumpsters are proposed on this property. This would be, again, a single family subdivision. So every lot, every home would have its own trash can recycling container. The road itself, so what we have proposed, again, would be the connection of Benny Avenue here with a full 50-foot right of way that's in line with that 50-foot ingress egress easement I just spoke about, and a 30-foot road section that would tie in and make this connection. That would be a full road section designed to town standards with curb and gutter on both sides. And we're proposing a sidewalk on the north side of the road that would connect into the sidewalk that was installed right here as part of Slate Creek as well. There is no existing sidewalk on the Carmel Heights subdivision. So as part of a rezoning, this planning commission is aware we have to do a little bit of trip generation and traffic analysis. We did that as part of this. It was 18 lots that generates approximately 170 total vehicle trips per day. That works out to just under 10 trips per day per unit. And then we look at our peak hours in the morning and in the afternoon. That's 7 to 9 time in the morning and 4 to 6 time in the afternoon. That data is included in the application that we provided. And based on that data, it's 13 trips in the morning and about 18 total trips coming in and out in the afternoon. One big piece of this is we looked at, as planning commission is well aware from the comprehensive plan, there's a lot of talk about cross connection and connectivity within subdivisions across town. It was clear from some of the original designs, obviously in Carmel Heights and Slate Creek, that the extension of Benny Avenue was something that was planned. And I'll show you some plats here in just a few minutes that show some of that. This is a very important connection for the town. It does provide that cross connection between the subdivisions just to the west of our property here, which goes all the way up Walters Drive, and the connection points over here on the east end, which is Carmel Heights, over to Villas and Peppers Ferry and Stafford Drive. Again, one of the things that we look at is where we can make those cross connections, where in a new development, if this were a big field, where we could stub out future connections to another piece of property. So we do have that connectivity between neighborhoods, which provides good vehicular connectivity, provides emergency services access, in case there was an accident on Peppers Ferry or somewhere else, it would be another way to access through the property and get from one side to the other. And it also provides additional pedestrian connectivity as well. Again, we are adding a sidewalk on that north side of there. Utilities, we talked a little bit about sanitary sewer. So that's already existing on site. That would be what we would tie into for our sanitary sewer. Main water lines exist on either side of the property, so those would be tied into and looped together, which again, from an engineering standpoint, you try to loop water lines, that helps with the pressure, and obviously keeps the water fresh, and you don't have dead end lines. So we would be making that water connection across Benny Avenue as well. Stormwater management, again, we spoke about up in this corner right here. The idea behind the stormwater management, this would be looking at ways we're going to keep the water, the surface water runoff from the development after it's developed to equal or less than the water that's coming off the site today. So by doing that, we design stormwater management facilities that could be an above ground drop, what we consider a dry pond, which you see in a lot of the subdivisions and a lot of the sites. It only holds water when there's a storm event. Other times it drains out over the course of about 24 hours and is dry again. A lot of the ones that the town has seen recently with redevelopment, sometimes you can do that underground in pipe systems. Our plan on this one, because we have the open space, we're anticipating that being a dry pond design.
I have a quick question. Can I stop you real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Since you're talking about stormwater and stuff, I know that you have the stormwater on the other side, but what happens on these homes right here? Because you already know that that one house right here in the corners and those homes over there already have problems with drainage on the back. So how are you gonna make sure that the water all makes it to the other side of the road?
When Slate Creek was developed, there's a drainage way that comes down through the back of those lots. It's an open space. I believe it's been deeded and dedicated to the town. When that was done, it was an open space easement or an open space parcel. Will, could you go back a couple slides? It's one of the overalls. So this actually, you can kind of see these dark lines right there represent the drainage ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the lots right here. So right here at the back, there's a drainage way that comes down through there. So we've got two ways we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, when we have a stormwater management facility, you have an outfall structure, a pipe, and that pipe will drain the pond, and it'll either go into what we call an adequate channel, which would be another storm sewer system. It could be a man-made ditch. It could be a natural ditch. We have to look at that, see how that ditch, the size of it, the velocities it will handle, make sure you're not creating any erosion or flooding issues. Otherwise, you have to hold the water back to a more stringent level, basically to what we consider a 1-year storm. And at that point, you do that and you release that water and try to get it back to a sheet flood condition. So that means it's not channelized, but you do, at the end of your pipe, you basically put a structure in that levels that water out and lets it spread out. So it's not erosive and causing any flooding issues downtown. So that's part of what we'll do with the site plan if the project will move forward.
I don't think you understand my question. I understand. Can you show me the ones with the last trail, please? So on the left side, if I'm looking at the left side where the stormwater pond is, I understand where the water is going. All those homes on the back will have the stormwater going that way. What are you gonna do with the ones on this side of the town? Yes, down here. So on the back of it, what are you gonna do? Because that's the back of homes, and we had issues over time over there where those homes have had issues with water on the back sides.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure, I didn't
I'm
follow what
sorry.
you were asking there. So let's just take this lot, for example. So again, all the topo is draining this direction, so it's coming down that way. So each one of these lots, these are, Brian, correct me, these would be built on a slab, correct?
Correct.
So these will be built on a slab. So what we will do is we'll grade ditch lines in the back and pick a couple of lots that we'll take the drainage down to. That drainage will then get into the storm sewer in the road through a drop inlet or a culvert. And then it would be directed through a pipe system down to the pond itself. So we would pick up any surface water coming from the lots to the south of us, the existing lots. We'd pick those up in a ditch line back along here and get them out to the front. So you're not washing water in the back of it.
So they're gonna go in an L shape, correct?
It would probably come out in a couple different locations. You might have one that would come out somewhere here and then another one further down, probably between lots 9 and 10.
Okay.
We don't know that level of design yet, but that's the concept behind it.
Thanks.
So again, in the last couple pages of the application, pages 11 and 12, I believe, we talk and touch on how we feel this project itself meets the goals of the comprehensive plan. Specifically in the housing goals, there is discussion about single level living, a patio style home where people can age in place, where you got all your functions on the main floor. This is certainly meeting that need that's addressed there. The road network goals and strategies, again, the cross connection we talked about with connecting Benny. And the future land use and planning goals and strategies in that as well. We probably have a number, maybe half a dozen goals and strategies that we've talked about in there. Again, this property is shown as residential on the future land use map. The density we're at right now is right at 4 units per acre. So we feel maybe the type of unit, the patio home style itself doesn't exist out there right now. But you've got R1 development on the right-hand side, and you've got, I believe it's B3, Slate Creek is B3 with the planned housing development
CUP.
That's the way we had to do it years ago. We didn't work on Slate Creek, but you had to rezone it with the CUP like that for planned housing development there. Again, the density on that, I guess from a lot standpoint, well, could you go back one more slide again, or 2 more? I'm sorry. Would be helpful for the commission to know, if you look at this south side of Benny, very similar from a density standpoint to what we have shown there. If you take about, I think we have 10 lots there. If you take 5 of those units, on measure, it's about 511 feet. We've got about 517 feet across our site. So very similar from a streetscape standpoint, going down Benny on that side. We do have 2 properties we have included right now in the application. One is that the property will be developed in substantial conformance with the current master plan. And the property zoned or proposed for R1, but only be utilized for single family detached use. Mr. Rice has gone door to door through Slate Creek and Carmel Heights and talked to his neighbors there. I believe the planning commission has been provided some of the correspondence that's been received on that. And I'm sure we've got neighbors here tonight that I'm sure will speak to that. But some of the issues that we've heard and we've seen in that, concerns about price ranges and how this will impact the current property values there. Linwood, which is another property that's been developed, averages prices somewhere in the 275 to 300 range. That's about what these are anticipated to be right now. We've gone back and looked through some of the current sales in the area, and that's very comparable, if not a little bit higher than some of the units that have sold in Slate Creek. They're in the mid-2s. Most of them have averaged there in the mid-2s on Slate Creek. So we think the price range of these units in that 275 to 300 range is going to help the property values there from a price standpoint. Setbacks is one thing that's been noted a couple times. We heard about that, heard a concern about the setbacks, specifically, not necessarily internal to the site, but primarily on the boundaries that are adjacent to our neighbors. So that boundary right there and this boundary right there. We have talked, we kind of heard about that at the end of the day Friday. We've had some conversations. Brian and I had about how we might be able to shift that and get a little bit more setback on those adjacent areas. We haven't made changes yet because we wanted to get through planning commission tonight and see if there were any other concerns the planning commission might have. But that's one thing we're looking at possibly making a change to prior to us coming back for a vote from the planning commission. There were concerns about traffic, stormwater, wildlife habitat, density screening, loss of vegetation. We are hoping we can keep some of that existing vegetation out on site right now, especially along the property lines, to help with some of that buffering between us and our neighbors. And certainly if there's a larger setback that goes in on those sides, that would be easier for us to do from a grading standpoint. We have read through the comments that have been presented to planning commission from our neighbors. We're evaluating those, and hopefully we touched on several of them tonight. I believe Ryan wants to address the planning commission as well from the applicant standpoint, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the planning commission.
Okay, you're gonna stick around, right, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hanging around.
And can you say, I have a question on the,
Excuse me,
thing.
you need to address your comments to the
Okay.
commission. Okay, thank you. State your name and your address.
I'm Brian Rice, 2440 Kitchen Post Drive in Christiansburg. And I'm the realtor for this transaction, and I also will be a principal as well. Richard Caldwell and I will be forming a company to develop, build, market, and sell these homes. And in his luck would have it, Richard is on vacation with his family this week, and he apologizes for missing me. Richard and I just recently finished a development called Wynwood Estate that consists of 17 patio-style homes. And before the meeting, I put some pictures on your desk there, and those are the actual homes that we built. And we plan to replicate in a new subdivision using the same floor plan, same homes. And in Wynwood Estates, it's located there off the Racket Road up Underwood, and you snake around and get in on the middle school. And we'd love for you to drop up there and take a look at the subdivision down right here. And since the COVID-19 has occurred, we cannot meet with the neighbors as a group, so I tried to meet individually with as many of the surrounding neighbors as possible. I knocked on every door in Slate Creek, some more than once, and several in Carla Heights. I think there are 48 homes in Slate Creek, and I made contact with about 36 of the owners and about 8 or so neighbors in Carla Heights. I enjoyed talking with the neighbors and correcting some of the miscommunication that had circulated among the neighbors. A petition had circulated before I arrived, and it's obvious some of the information was incorrect. You know, if my neighbor presented me with a petition that said that the developer was going to destroy our neighborhood, and I didn't have any competing information, I think it'd be rude not to sign the petition. One of the first misconceptions is that we're building townhouses or substandard homes. In fact, the first item of the petition states we're building homes of lesser value. The homes we're building are single-family detached homes on individual lots. According to the local multiple listing service, the last 3 homes sold in Slate Creek averaged $223,900. The last 3 homes sold in Wynwood Estates averaged $279,400. So our homes that we will be building are selling for about $55,000 more than the homes in the adjacent neighborhood of Slate Creek. And there's been some talk about traffic, as there always is in every zone. And 18 homes we will build are typically purchased by retired people or empty nesters, as we call them. Usually they do not have children at home, and therefore they generate less traffic than other developments. Dean Avenue stops at the east end of the property and begins again on the west side of the property. This road right-of-way was included in the survey way back in the 60s and 70s, but was not recorded. And the town used that survey right-of-way when they extended the sewer line through the property. And this property is located between Stafford Drive on the east and Walker's Drive on the west. And also put a map there at your table with some arrow is kind of showing the flow of traffic. And the normal flow of the small amount of traffic generated by these patties or homes would be towards the town with its shopping and services, grocery stores and Walmart. And thus, they'd be traveling away from Slate Creek Commons. And any traffic from Belmont Estates traveling along Walters Drive would be within sight of Pepper's Ferry when they approach King Avenue. And most likely would not turn left into a residential area instead of traveling the remaining 200 yards to the intersection. But this open street would give fire and rescue personnel more access to the Slate Creek Commons subdivision. The planned unit development we're asking for is very similar to other developments in Christiansburg. Developments such as Winsong Heights, Wynwood Estates, Lions Gate, and the development approved just last week, Ravens Point. In fact, our lots are going to be larger than the ones approved last week. Our density is 4.0 units per acre as opposed to their 4.4 acres. 4.4 units per acre. And we're asking for a minimum street frontage of 50 feet as opposed to 40 feet. These homes are going to be an asset to the town and provide much needed housing options to retired people. It's going to benefit Slate Creek Commons by providing additional access to fire and safety, fire and rescue, and help raise the property values of all the surrounding neighbors. We've listened to the concerns of the neighbors, although most are pleased to learn that Richard Caldwell will be the builder, and they are pleased with this style of homes. I contacted one of the homes on Weatherway early in the process and learned it was a rental home, and I was not able to contact the owner who lived in Blacksburg until last Friday, when I learned his email address. So I've listened to his concern as well about his investment property, and along with his neighbor, we're considering changes to help minimize any impact to their property. And I'll be available to answer any questions the commission may have, or if the chair would like, I can answer any concerns raised during the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please state your name and address.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Donald Connor, 250 Slate Creek Drive, and I'm one of the houses that back up to the waterway that will carry the stormwater runoff. I have no problem with the density he's proposing here. I spoke when the Clifton project was coming up and the density that they were doing in the Clifton project, Town Square project, with the amount of apartments there, along with the Adams, along with the townhomes behind there and the new development going in behind there. I think the density overall for our neighborhood is exceeding all possible needs. The Adams was said to be built for seniors, but I don't know any seniors going to carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs. I understand what he's saying about the one level, but not many seniors need 1,800 square feet. I've lived in a development with a 50-foot wide lot and 100-some feet deep, and it's doable. But my biggest concern is the opening of Benny. I understand that the city likes the idea of connectivity, but I've lived there 12 years with no connectivity and have not had a minute's problem. When I talked to Mr. Rice, I asked him, was it the city's idea to open Benny or his idea? And he said, well, if he could build his development without opening Benny, there's no advantage to opening Benny to him. I think if you don't open Benny, you won't have many complaints to the people in Slate Creek. Yes, there's a problem with stormwater runoff, and he's addressed those problems the way they've addressed them in several other developments in the city. And it seems to be the way things are done now. Not the way I used to do them, but the way they're done now. We have a wildlife concern. We have a herd of deer that frequent the area. We have a very good migration of birds come through there. I think if you take the trees down and you start building houses, you end up actually hurting some of the wildlife area. But my biggest concern is the Benny Avenue opening up. If Benny, he could build his development And where he has his stormwater pond, he literally could put a turnaround there, not jeopardize any of his lots. Still give him plenty of room to put his thing in, and I don't have a problem with the walkthrough from Benny to Benny. But opening that street for 1 block, and you're saying it's gonna make a difference in connectivity, and I've lived there 12 years, and I bought because my development was dead end. I like that idea. The problem we're also looking at, and it's not to be addressed here, but the section just north of him, that's also gonna be developed. And if you look at it, I don't know how to use the pointer. This lot here is up for development also, and the access into it is very small. Stormwater permit is also this development here. The stormwater permit is also going to flow down in behind our houses. I hate to give up my tranquility, and I'm being selfish, but that's the reason I bought the house where I did. In 12 years, it served me well. And any questions?
Where do you say you live on this side of town?
I live right here. This is my house right here. And this is the stormwater runoff he's talking about, right down behind my house. My basement, I'm a basement home. My basement is probably not 5 feet above the creek level here. So conceivably, this slopes up pretty steep on this side. So conceivably, I could get water flowing here. Here it's steeper, it's a deeper ravine here, but it opens up into here. This is city property here. This is the property that I'm worried about being developed. This is the only access in. The city talks about connectivity. Here Walters ends, and it doesn't go anywhere across here. But that's a real, the city says we want to open it up, but we're not opening up Walters across here, which would actually benefit everybody. But you want to open up this one section of Benny, that there's 18 homes here, but you could leave this closed off, keep the integrity of Slate Creek being a small neighborhood, which was the reason I bought there, and I think you'll find most of the people bought there because we were a dead-end neighborhood. And he can still come in, build his houses, put a turnaround right there where he's gonna have his holding pond, and the people will still, like he says, most of his traffic will come out. Now, when you get out here to Stafford, you try to make a left turn on Stafford, it's a blind turn. They're coming across the hill here, and you can't see it at all. But that's something to be addressed by the builder in the city later on.
It's a very small road.
This road is extremely small. I hate to see the construction traffic coming in this way. I hate to give up my tree line here.
So when you talk about stormwater from the runoff and everything, you're also concerned that you're also gonna get some of the water in your basement, right?
Well, it's very much a possibility. Like I say, it's my house. I walk out to a flat yard, and right there's the creek. There's not much rain in that creek. It's about that wide. 3 weeks ago, when we had all the rain, it got to be about 6 foot wide. If you put hard surface here and runoff, and even with the retention pond, I mean, I know that they're supposed to work, but it's the time they don't work that I end up with the rain and the water in my basement. But I think that I don't have a problem with the density here. I like the density here that he's got. 4.3 is great density. But you put that on top of the Adams, on top of the Clifton townhomes, on top of the homes back here, on top of the New River Villas here, and the homes in behind those, and we have an Oak Tree Estates, basically. Opening up Benny gives you a road from Stafford to Walters. You can't go any further this way. You can't open any further. So the traffic is going to literally come this way and either come in here, or we'll keep our integrity of our neighborhood.
Well, I know we're gonna have a connectivity road for Walters. What side of town is that one happening now? Is it up here or is it the one I'm just kind of confused with the one with the Magnolia one.
I don't believe an exact location has been identified, but you're correct that it's not been voted on yet by council, but there is, with Magnolia Point, there is a proffer to provide a connection from that development, which really sits off the page here to Walters.
Will, is there any future plans to connect it to not Walters Avenue?
Up here,
Yes.
I'm not aware of anything, but I certainly can look into that and report back to you all our next meeting.
It's private property right now. The city didn't get right of ways when it was sold and deeded. So it's right now, it's private property. The people don't want it open.
Got it.
They like the fact that they're dead end. And kind of like we like the fact that we're dead end.
Got it.
Did I hear you correctly when you said that, the space just up, above the area where the site is?
This right here,
You're saying that's gonna be developed too?
that's also going to be developed. It's been sold and they're going to put in twin homes similar to Slate Creek. And what happens is your only access into it is off this little road right here. And more than likely, what's going to happen is this will come through and through his retaining pond will eventually be a road into that neighborhood. That's my speculation. But that's not something in front of the council or the commission right now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Please, sir. State your name and address.
Randy Jones, 180 Straight Creek Drive. I have a question for this gentleman here. You could go over to the lots, the last one. Yeah. I don't know if y'all have actually been to the site, but up here is higher than here. And it looks to me like there's gotta be a lot of dirt roads in that area, and I don't know how that's gonna affect, our neighborhood, drainage, and any construction runoff, anything like that. Now, Don had said most of what I was gonna say about, traffic and stuff like that. Some people drive down to Benny like it's a racetrack now, and they live in a subdivision. So, I don't know if that can be added to it. But if you could be kind enough to, answer whatever I had there on the dirt and the movement and site work.
I'm
Take care of me.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
Answer the question.
Yeah, just real quick on that. So from a construction phasing standpoint, we would have sediment trapping measures down this low side where we would end up having our ponds. So from a construction, during mass grading, anything that would be draining down this way naturally would make its way into a sediment basin or sediment trap down here. That's where we would hold it, just based on state regulations and town regulations. As far as the grading itself, there will be some significant earth moving in this area. As Brian said, these will be slab homes. So a lot of the times when we're working with topography, we're doing crawl spaces and we're doing basement walkout basements. Based on the type of product that's going to go in here, they have to be slabs so it's easily accessible. So we will have earth that's moving in this area right here. That section of the road is going to kind of come up because that low point, like we talked about earlier, comes right through this area. So we'll be building up a little bit on this side and building up right here to get us back to where we need to. But everything, luckily, from our neighbor standpoint, this isn't always the case, but because of the way the site slopes, it allows us to keep that disturbance on site. So if we can manage the runoff before it hits the northwest corner of our property, that's our best case scenario. We don't have water, we don't have construction, runoff that's coming over directly to our neighbors on either of those three sides.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask one more question? How much dirt do you anticipate bringing in?
We don't know at this point, sir. Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point of the engineering yet to lay in road grades or any of the house grades yet.
the goal though is to balance the cut and the fill so that you're not taking any dirt off the property or bringing it back on. And the way that it's kind of low in the middle and raised up on both sides, we're able to cut into the sides and use that dirt to fill up the middle. So yeah, our goal is not to haul off any dirt because that's extra expense. And yeah, so the goal is to balance the cut and the fill.
Very good. Thanks for the explanations. Anyone else wishing to speak? Ma'am? State your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Denise Bash. I'm Montgomery. My father is Richard C. Bash, and he owns 90 Denny Avenue, which is the first house that you'll come to at the end of Denny before the new proposed patio homes. My dad bought it almost 20 years ago, and he loves it. So there are a few concerns have come up to me, sir, since we've been sitting here. I'm also a real estate agent, 24 years in Virginia. I do sell the New River Valley and Roanoke. One of my concerns that just came up, and Daddy gave me permission to speak for him, he's 81. I will tell you a little bit about him. He enjoys sitting on the front porch of his house, and I'm sure you went by today, ma'am, and seen my dad, and he's always there. Mr. Rice went and seen my dad. He has his bird feeders out there. He loves birds, the deer, that's all he talks about. His wife died like less than 2 years ago. Big deal for him. He owned 50 Wellway also, which is now belongs to our new neighbors, because that was my father's home and now belongs to the couple here. I sold that for him last year, I believe. One thing I want to touch on is that Mr. Rice mentioned, and I agree as a real estate agent, yes, we want the homes to keep up the value of the homes that are already existing. My father isn't here to speak, he wears double hearing aids. He can speak for himself, but he asks me to speak for him. The property will fall to me and my two brothers. Whether my brother wants to continue to live there, that will be up to him, whether I want to live there or whether I want to sell it. So I want that, I want you guys to know that it's very important to us what happens tonight in Denny Avenue. When he was talking about, first off, moving a lot of dirt, and I know you have concerns, sir, about the water going that way. Well, Daddy already gets quite a bit of water in his backyard. He's had to take a pump to that backyard and pump the water out of there because it rolls down. He's built a staircase up to where it graduates, it rolls down and then rolls back up the hill to a chain link fence to where that store is. And then there's some apartments, I believe, up there. But he still gets flood in that bottom. He gets water now. You go moving a lot of earth, putting 10 houses back there, I'm sure he's gonna get a whole lot more than what he's getting now rolling by there, unless they got some way of stopping that, which I never even thought of until this gentleman spoke, and until they were talking about moving more dirt. But another thing, let me just go through 1 and 2. That I wanted to make sure you knew he already gets water back there. I don't understand why so many patio homes either. We'd love to see more homes. We knew that the road was going to be, that was open. Eventually, future, there were going to be some homes built there. We wanted them to be like Daddy's home, Lisa's home, the other homes on Weddell. We wanted them to have good sized lots. They already hold their value. We don't need a patio home to hold value. I just sold those homes. They're increasing every year. They've been increasing. Daddy's, the home I sold, he paid 110, 171 it went for. 3 years ownership. They're already going up. That's not the big benefit, if that's what they're trying to sell. I do want homes there, and of course we would rather have patio homes, single family, residential, opposed to something else that might come along. I do know Mr. Caldwell builds good homes, we don't wanna beat them over the head. We'd like to see them get some homes built in there. Maybe not 10 in a row on my dad's side of the street and 8 in a row on the other. And a pond, some of this I'm just learning while I'm here. But I'd like to see 10 to 12, and so would my father. We wish that it wasn't as many, that the lots were larger. That way that leaves room for trees, for the deer, they'll continue to come. The traffic's not gonna be so heavy. If you didn't open up Vinnie Avenue, all that traffic and a turnaround's gonna put it in and out all the time, back and forth. And he is correct. That is a very hard street to see out of. Once you come down, Vinnie, you can't see. I always have to stick the whole nose of my car out to leave Daddy's house. The setback of 5 feet for us is just, for me, it's ridiculous. Mr. Rice tried to make my feelings feel a little bit better, and Daddy's telling me we got the biggest lot beside of it. It's only because it's narrow in the back and make everybody else square. We get the bigger lot beside of us, number 1, lot 1, which is larger than all the other lots. So they tell me it would be already a little bit further away from Dad's. Really? Not when you get to the back, not when you have the wide, we're gonna have some other concerns. I don't want those new neighbors sitting there going, already start complaining about my dad's house that was built in 1950, you know? If you're going to do this, then give us some extra barrier between what's going on with the new subdivision, as they're gonna call it, and our existing subdivision. An 8-foot wall, they put it on at the other places. They asked me to go right by and take a look at Wynwood. Okay, right by, I look, beautiful townhomes, don't have a problem with that. They have a nice board fence. I'm sure that they, as long as they take care of it, put it on their side, and their association wants to take care of that 8-foot fence that I'd like to see there, that'd be great. Some of the other people would like to see trees, but I feel like the fencing would protect my dad from people making complaints down the road about how he lives his life and what's already there, because they have it one way. We're talking about 2 different kinds of places here. It's not a regular flow of a neighborhood anymore. And that is a lot of traffic that's gonna be rolling by there. My father walks over to his mailbox now, and it's on Weddle Way. I don't want him crossing the street, somebody running over a man that's 81 years old with 2 hearing aids. You know, I like it the way it is, but, and I think it could serve them well. I just don't think we need that many. Not trying to halt progress. Next thing, I talked to Mr. Rice, and I agree with him that that's gonna be, those patio homes are really important to retired citizens. They like to live on one level. Okay, but it's not a senior citizen, older community setup development. It's still going to be sold to people with children, bicycles, riding up down the street, kids, more properties, teenagers getting their driver's license. There's gonna be more traffic there than just Mr. and Mrs. Person who's retired and has all their kids empty nesting. Come on, that's not, I mean, we're gonna see both. And that's the way I feel. That bothers me. It's a lot of traffic. That's almost 20 more homes. You think about that. And they're regular size homes, bigger than that 1,800 square feet is bigger than most of those homes now. They're like 1,500 square feet on one floor. So those are even bigger and on smaller lots than what we already have. Very small lots, not even a quarter of an acre. Then you want to take and put it 5 feet side setback from my dad's garage, which means I'm 5 foot tall. How does that look? If I lay down between my dad's garage, my head will be touching the next house. That's ridiculous. 15 feet would be good with the fence. We don't have to deal with it. And I'd like to see, you know, some room between these properties. I mean, there's room for that. I know everybody likes to make some money, and it's more feasible for them to, they're gonna spend a whole bunch of money, and I know it's not cheap, but I'm sorry for that. not cheap, but, you know, you can't have it all unless you're willing to live there. And if I thought Mr. Rice wants to move in, they want to move into lot 1 and live beside Dad and live that close, but no, they're gonna build it, but not a place they want to live. So that's kind of what I got. And, like I said, most of the units are not, there's good and bad, so I hope that I've shined a little light on both of those. And I know that my neighbors, they want to say a few things, but the wildlife is very important today. He doesn't have a few more years, and maybe it won't affect him, and maybe everybody don't care, but I care. And I care what happens. And I feel for Dad. You know, I mean, he's gonna settle there. He's lost his wife, and I said, Daddy, he's got another house he can move to. But why should he? Why should he move out of there? He said that was his wife's favorite house. They built it there because they loved it. It's quiet. He had a garden over there. He always let me use the garden. It's just important to keep some neighborhoods the same, you know? Or just, we don't need so much. A few houses is great, but 18's too many. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Ladies before gentlemen, right?
Very good. Go ahead, it's fine.
Name of that? James Mashinsky, 260 Slate Creek. I live next to Don. Water runoff, the back of our homes, what this gentleman doesn't realize is our gutters go underground and exit in that culvert. So if you start high flowing water through that area, what's gonna happen to my water and my gutters off my roof? It's gonna be coming down like Niagara Falls. That's every home that's on that area. The other gentleman mentioned about average price of a home being $230 when they sold. A lot of people moved out of Lower Slate Creek because of the water issues. They're having flooded basements problems with their concrete at the lower end. That drainage area was under designed when the developer, Radford Homes, designed that area. And we have problems every time there's a heavy rain. My other concerns as a resident here and taxpayer is our fire department. We keep adding all these homes, and we're gonna put such a strain on our beautiful fire department. What are we gonna do, add more firemen? The other thing is snow removal. I know we've been blessed the last couple of years, but Don can tell you, the garbage truck got stuck. We tried pushing him out, then the mailman got stuck because you can't handle the snow removal now. And you're adding all these developments. Are we gonna add more snow removal? We're gonna buy plows? I come from Buffalo, New York. I know what snow removal looks like. And this town doesn't have it right now. And all it takes is a northwesterly and a jet stream to flow down here. And you know what's gonna happen? The what? Moisture we get. You know, and the deer. We enjoyed 2 fawns this year. Beautiful deer. And there's about 8 of them that live back in those woods. You're gonna take them away? Where are they gonna go? You gonna kill them? They lived there, I lived there for 14 years. And I enjoy that nature in my backyard. Along with the cardinals that come in every year. I thought this was a sanctuary for cardinals, is it not? And you're gonna destroy the ecological system because you wanna make homes? Is there any plans for what you're gonna do with the animals that we enjoy every year? That's my thing about it. And if he puts his drainage along with ours, are you prepared for me to come to the town and complain that I'm having problems with my gutters because my runoff, my water, and then it freezes, backs up, I get roof damage? You gonna pay for that? You know, it's all well and good. It's just like Mr. Radford. He planned that neighborhood, and what happened? He went bankrupt, couldn't complete it. So then he come back with his son to start a new company. What did they do?
They brought everything from Roanoke, all the garbage that they had left over from the development they had there to finish the homes on Vinnie Lane. And nobody came out to inspect them because there was some shabby work that I have pictures of in some of those homes. Some of those roof rafters were terrible. And I just, I don't know if those people ever have problems with the roofs that are on Vinnie Lane. You know, are you gonna inspect these homes? Every one of them, not just one? Because you got problems on some of the homes in the Slate Creek Commons area. People are having problems, had problems. Nobody addressed them. We can't go to the town because the town says it's a developer. So who do we go to if there's problems? Is there gonna be money that they're gonna set back in case there are issues and pay for the damages? That's my concern. So, there you have it. Thank you very much. Sir. Anyone else? Please.
I am Lisa Dalton. I live at 31 Away, which is this back corner lot right there. So we'll literally put a patio home in my backyard. So right now there's a little shed right there that's actually on my property, and there's always been a shed for the 5 years I've lived there, back there, and that's like exactly 5 feet from my property line. So that's right where a patio home is. So it's real. I'm like, whoa! I've been looking at this little 5x5 shed, and it's going to be a giant house. So I realized they're going to build nice ones, which is awesome. Like, that is a good thing, and there has to be a house there. But the fact is, I knew Vinny would connect, but thought it would be bigger over lots kind of thing. And so, yeah, my vision when I bought it is very, very different than what might happen. But Mr. Rice has talked to me and mentioned a potential retaining wall maybe, because I am a little bit higher, so I'm lucky that I won't have the drainage issues. So if he did like put a retaining wall against my property, the houses would be a little bit lower with hopefully a privacy fence and solid, and maybe a tree or something. So it's not just a fence I'm looking at, but I might barely not be able to see the houses. So that would purely be, if this has to happen, which I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but that would be the best scenario with me if this is what's gonna happen. And clearly I'd like to see less homes would be awesome, but I understand business. I mean, I get everything that's gotta happen. So hopefully there's no drainage problems for all these people or anything like that. So clearly at least a 15-foot setback, and where I'm at, it seems like you could push a little bit into the stormwater area and give me at least 15 or more feet. And this would also help Mr. White, who's gonna speak next, probably, like if he could keep that tree barrier that is on the lot, the land, then that would really help both of us not really be able to see it, hopefully. I mean, somebody did recently buy a property above that. So if they build, I mean, could be lots of fun for us that we've had nice and quiet. I mean, the tree line back there, pretty much every other night there are trees eating apples out of the tree. I mean, deer eating out of the trees and stuff like that. You can get rid of the skunks with like trees, you know, stuff like that. But we have groundhogs too. We have lots of fun right underneath my shed. It's really destroyed. I just like it for the nightlight, but nobody cares about that. I guess my questions are like, what are the construction hours going to be if this or a revised version of this happens? And I guess I'd like to, I know I've been told that there will probably not be a road in that vacant lot area, but it is kind of disturbing to know that there could be a road up to that other property, because that would be a very bad for even more people coming by my house when I live right beside her dad, and he's right across the street. My dog barks at him every day, so my dog's gonna be barking at the lovely construction every day too. But you know, we don't have any traffic, and it is very hard to see out the Bend Road coming out. So as far as those were my questions, I guess. So, you know, just to doubly make sure, even though I've been told it's probably not gonna happen. I listened. It's just, you know, I'm worried you're at light. So that's all I have to say, I guess. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Ipin. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I live in 50 right away. The reason we bought that property, actually, we are the neighbor, is because the view, the beauty in that area. The nature, appetite, and it's just amazing because rarely you can find paradise in a city in that area. So I'm not against prosperity. I think it's very good for everyone, for the city as well, but not that many buildings. I think that is overkill for one thing. And also we are concerned about the traffic because I know Mr. Rice talked about having a walkway on that new property. But in our way, in that area, we don't have any walkway. And that's dangerous and maybe it's okay for you guys to have going this way, but the traffic is going to be flowing, so we don't have any walkway. And then we do have a lot of children in that neighborhood and older people too. So we are concerned about those children, family and older senior families. So I think my point is I'm not against the prosperity for the city, for the good of the neighborhood, but I would ask you to think more the middle way, maybe not that many, and also then it's too crowded. It's just too crowded. And we have a natural trees in our backyard, but most of them is on the borderline. So basically they can take it away, and that is where the deers are coming and the beauty of it. So we prefer probably not to have a fence, but more trees. But anyway, I think I'm hoping we can find a happy median that prosperity for everyone, and yet give everyone a little bit more room, because too crowded is not the way to go. Okay, thank you so much.
Where is your house from, sorry?
I'm
Is it
sorry,
on this
my
side?
house is just, this way. And then we do have trees in our backyard that can be a natural barrier. So we would love to keep those trees. But since we don't have say, because 5 feet is very close, so they might take it away, I don't know, but we really hope it's just too crowded, too close to the neighbors. And I don't think that will be healthy for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please. Please look down that.
Ken White, 50 by White. My better half just spoke. And kind of like Ms. Basham, I mean, we might be, owners of investment property there, but we bought it with thinking, we need single level living ourselves later on. So we're looking at living there, a few years out from here. We need that. I loved it when I bought it. It was, it was beautiful in the back. Didn't see anything like it. Now that lady saw my wife in the grocery store. We weren't even planning on anything like that. And she said, "You got to see this." And we went out there and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is incredible." I never dreamed that tree line, all that stuff would be taken. I knew probably something would be built back there. Okay? But the deer, wildlife, you almost be saying to yourself, as a planning commissioner, what is it with all these wildlife and these birds? You just got to go there to understand. Okay, it's hard to understand. This is a huge orchard, apple orchard. Okay, for those of you who know a little bit of history of the city and stuff, this was just all apple orchard. So those deer that come through there, that's been their migratory pattern for decades. All right, and let's say you tear down that little bit of orchard left there. Where are they going to go? They're going to go out Peppers Ferry Road. You don't want to be accused of that, Oh, we tore down all the deer around Peppers Ferry now. Oh, we got a real problem here. Or they go out on Stafford. My better half, she always, gives me new things to think about, so I put two and two together here, what I'm hearing from my neighbors, and, I keep hearing about that turn from Vinnie on to Stafford, all the increased traffic. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I hadn't really thought about, everybody's gonna know about that turn, so what do people do? They divert to a different way, so they come down our way, they come down well. There is no sidewalk there, those kids are on there 24/7 on those bikes, up and down that road, that you can't go anywhere but the road there. So that's gonna be all that traffic, it's gonna cause hazards to those little children. Deer going everywhere, I mean, I think we're getting ready for a real bad thing to happen here, if this is approved the way it is. I like that they're gonna build quality stuff, I think that's good, Mr. Caldwell's one behind this. I don't really agree it's gonna up our property values that much, we're doing just fine, I think the density of it is gonna probably lower when it's all said and done. I don't see any plus for us. I think the best we can do, it may be approved, I hope not, but if it is, we need to do 10 or 12. I'm sorry, the profit margin goes down a bit, but 18 is way too many. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, we'll close.
Mr. Jones, could I answer maybe two of the points that was brought up? I think
We're gonna have some discussion points after, the public hearing, point number 4. Okay, then we'll open it up. Okay. So we'll move on to point number 4, public hearing for conditional use permit request contingent upon receiving item by Caldwell Construction for the plan housing development to consist of single-family homes at the density of development not to exceed 4.3 units per acre for property owned by Sandra Hawks and Janice Bedlam, and located east and western terminus of Binney Avenue Northwest, 100 Binney Avenue Northwest, tax map number 435-A-45 in the R1 R-1 single family residential district. Property is once again designated as residential on the future land map of 2013 Christopher Comprehensive Plan. Now, given that the two items 3 and 4 do relate together, I ask that if there's any additional points that have not been made or spoken so far, then I welcome you to address the commission now.
Additional points for the previous one?
On the overall rezoning and the conditional use permit, which are tied together.
Okay.
So if there's any further comments.
I have a further comment. It's, people bought those homes in Slate Creek, and you're gonna overlook a pond. I mean, that's unreasonable to ask of somebody. When Radford built the area, they built a retention pond in that corner, and then they made it smaller to build 2 more houses. All right, so all this water, when you have water flowing in one direction, and our gutters are trying to exit into that, this water is gonna take the advantage of this water. You'll never get any water into that area. 'Cause I've experienced that in the neighborhood I lived up outside of Buffalo, New York, where they did a culvert like that. Our streets were flooded because of the fact that the water had no place to go. It was pressure was holding that culvert pipe closed. And that's what you're gonna do to all those drainage pipes off those homes. Because that's where they exit. They're underground, they exit into that culvert.
Would you be so kind to show us where your house is located again? Will, if you don't mind, please.
The Downs is here, the mine's there.
Got it. Okay.
And all these homes down here, the reason people moved is because the water flows down here and they were getting water damage. And they were tired of it.
Okay.
Can you guys remind me who built this one? The ones where you guys?
Radford Homes. They're on Roanoke. The other thing is, like they're saying about the traffic coming through, the construction traffic, is what's it gonna do to our existing road? Heavy equipment. Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else with you? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to. Thank you very much. Let's see, I've been in town for a while. I built the Winter Street townhomes, Middleport townhomes, Ashlandport subdivision. We tore down the old Mako tool building and built a storage facility. We tore down the dilapidated house at 925 Radford Street. We tore down an old restaurant at 645 Radford Street. We built Wynwood State subdivision. All these developments, all of them have stormwater facilities on them that was engineered and built to specifications required by the town. I do not know any complaints to the town about any of these facilities not performing adequately or not operating as they intended. The town requires us to design a system such that the water runoff after development is at least the same or less than what leaves the property today. One of the neighbors said that the creek, I don't know how it rises when it rains. And we're trying to make sure that it does not rise as much after we're done. In other words, we have to make sure that it doesn't rise any more and we're shooting for it less. So like I say, we've done a lot of projects. We've done them correctly. We've built them the way they're supposed to be built and any problems with it. And so this will be engineered, the same way and built the same way. And then it was mentioned several times that it's too crowded. And I believe that some people that's on the building have problems visualizing size and so forth. The lots that we're using are extra deep than what some of these other developments has been approved. So the R1 zoning, which is what Weatherway and Penny, those houses are at R1 zoning, and that allows a lot of 10,000 square feet. If you take my 4.51 acres and divide by 10,000 square feet, you come up with 19 units. So it's really not any dense than what would be in some other R1 development. Now with the roads, so forth, we would probably only be able to get 14 units or so without the use permit. But I want to let everybody know that these aren't small kind of lots. These are actually large, deeper lots than you would see in one of those subdivisions. And this development, time it's building, it's going to be a $5.4 million project. And we want this development to look very fast and be as beautiful as possible. It has to blend in seamlessly with the existing neighborhood and cannot distract from the current neighbors. And she can be sure we'll strive our best for the best possible appearance, so we'll be able to sell the cheese. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'd like to just make one more comment that he talked about the extra, this is Lisa Dalton again on the 30 Weddle Way, about the traffic potentially going up Weddle. So I bought the property from the people, my house also owned that land, so I knew it was still the whole time, but my parents cannot get out right there. They're scared to get out at Denny. So they do go up Weddle and come up. So it is a problem. It's going to be a problem for you and your big truck. Like you have to stick part of your car out into Stafford to actually see. So
Thank you.
I mean, it is a problem. Sorry, thanks.
Do you want to speak?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Again, Denise Basham, Montgomery. I'm here for Richard C. Basham, 90 Denny Avenue. What Lisa just said is really true, which just come to my mind again. My father's garage that sits there will be right beside lot 1. Now, my father, they do go up Stafford because that's a tight turn. They pull the truck with the lawnmower, pull behind it with the trailer. They have to go up up
That's right.
Stafford, down Weddle, and then up Denny, and then back to get into the garage because they cannot get in it that way. So I'm just saying, if you have all these cars and Dad's garage is there, he's not even gonna be able to get out of his garage with his truck and make that turn. So, I mean, that I hadn't even thought about it before, but Also, I do like the fact that they're even, they considered, I know Mr. Rice just said there was gonna be, it could be 19 townhomes, and he told me that also when he called me on the telephone and talked to me. But 19, if 18's too many, 19's ridiculous. So please consider, we don't want to stop progress. We're all for it, progress, but please consider letting them be larger lots and a little more spacious. He's talking about how deep the lots are. I don't care. Side to side is the biggest issue because we're not in the backyards. I mean, you're gonna get one lawnmower swipe between each house. I'm 5 foot tall. Again, look at me, a 60-inch mowing deck, that's me. That's about all you're gonna get going around these townhomes. Even if you've got more in the back and they're deep, that doesn't help our situation. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
Don Connor, 250 Slate Creek. I was just listening to the people talk about and mention, kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. It'll look like a football field. Football field's 100 yards, 300 feet deep. These lots are 172 feet deep. Football field is 160 foot wide. So 3 lots would be about equal to a football field. So you're looking at some pretty long, narrow neighborhoods.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else? Hearing no one, we'll close the public hearing for conditional use permit and open it up to commissioners for discussion points.
I've got a question for Will. The current zoning, which is the RA1 something, I can't remember what the
R1A.
R-1. What's the current allowable density in that, for refresher for everybody? Number of activities.
I'll just pull the code up.
Yeah, thank you.
Served by public water and sewer would be 15,000 square feet, 100 feet of frontage. That's for R1A.
So can we do that?
Basically half of what we're showing.
Gotcha. And that would, it's already zoned for R1A.
Presently, it's at R1A.
And in this case, then a CUP would not be necessary if we built half the house, if only half the house.
They could come to us with a CUP for amendment to that current level, but it wouldn't allow for the meeting or not being there.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. There's some really good comments. I think a lot of you have made some good points, and I think the most important thing is that we're all learning here. And we're all learning more and more as the night went on. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to take in. I do have some specific questions. Stephen, I can direct them to you. They mentioned the trees that were to the right on the property, dividing new community between the 2 or 3 lots on the right-hand side. Would those trees remain?
Well, maybe yeah. So again, this is the trees we have located here on the site. You can see, this thing was talking about this group right here.
Right.
There's a little bit of that that's on their property, and most of it is on our property.
Okay.
Again, that would depend on the grading, on whether those can stay or not. Our hope is we're gonna keep as many of the trees as we can. One thing to keep in mind, and I think this will be part of when we come back with some revisions to planning commission on this. If you, Will, would you jump to Next one, please. Maybe zoom in. It's going right around this area. So one thing that's already there, there's already 15-foot public utility easement that's already dedicated along that common property line. So there's 7.5 feet on our side that we can't build in anyway. So I know that's only an extra 2.5 feet of what we're talking about. But anything in this area right here, you can see there's that tree line that comes across. So anything in there, we won't be disturbed. So we'll be in that area. There might be a little bit of grading right on the edge. We can't build, no matter what our setback is. We can say it's 2 feet, we still can't build beyond that 7.5 foot setback. Because that's against the town ordinance to build any kind of a permanent structure in public utilities. So that's one difference right there. So another 10 or another 3 feet or so, 2.5 feet to get to 10 feet. You're still not quite to where that existing shed is right there. But those are the trees, Mr. Johnson. So hopefully those that unit will sit somewhere right around here. Grade wise back in this area, it's not that bad. So I'd like to be able to think we could save some of those. Thank you.
Commissioners?
I had a question about you had mentioned, not a homeowners association, but a development company of doing the grass and stuff. Is there thought to have a homeowners association?
There will, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. There will have to be a homeowners association for any open space and stormwater management area. So that's going to be required no matter what, but they're part of that. And that would be up to Brian and Richard as they're setting up the HOA, whether they as the developers contract directly with the maintenance company, a landscaping lawn company to handle all that outside management, or if that's the HOA that contracts with directly.
And the properties or the developments onto either side of the property have homeowners associations, or are they?
I would assume Slate Creek has a homeowners association. I can't imagine Tomahawk does with the age of the same. And what would you mind if Mr. Johnson, could you scroll through a couple more slides? I think it might just be helpful for the commission to see. These are some of the building plans that we have done for Wynwood, but we don't have to go through those. You guys have the pictures of what the units look like built. The pictures are a lot prettier than our plans anyway. Maybe one more. So this is the plat tonight. This is the plat I was talking about earlier. So this is from 1964. So this is when Carmel Heights was subdivided originally. So again, you can see Vinnie Drive with that 50-foot right of way. Stuff there, the property line. Next one, Will. Again, this was the subdivision plat for Slate Creek, which was in 2004. So again, some of the comments about it being, a closed off, suburb, whatever the term that was used, but basically an isolated community. So a lot of times, if the idea is that you are not going to stub out to a future property, you have a cul-de-sac in. So again, you can see how Vinnie Avenue here was stubbed all the way out, full 50-foot right of way to that property. So that the intention of this connection was always there, from 64 to 2004, and then to 2012. And the next one, when the family that owns this property, part of this was subdivided back in 2012. That's when this 50-foot ingress easement was dedicated to the town of Christiansburg. So that 50 foot is exactly what it is. It was an ingress easement. It's now switching to a right of way with council. So again, that connection has always been, since 1964, there's always been planned to be a road connection in this property.
There's been a lot of talk about runoff and stormwater, and that's what I'm kind of hung up on right now. Could you explain what is the actual plan to prevent? Because you said the idea is not to have it any worse than we got there, but do you have any ideas of what you guys are looking at?
So
if you could just explain that a little bit more too.
Well, let me go back to that one, to this one. One more back there that existed. Yeah. And I'm going to start with Ms. Bashan Montgomery, right? One of her questions when she was speaking. These are the right in this area. So the issue that a lot of residents have in these older neighborhoods is nobody was required to do stormwater in 1964. Nobody was required to do stormwater when these developments up above the neighborhood here went in. So all that runoff from these developments, I think I'll amend that. I think the storage buildings have a little stormwater management along State Road. But anything falls off the back, there's no stormwater management right now. Now you can see these contours are kind of faint. None of this property right now, everything's breaking this direction. None of this property is flowing on to her father's property. The flooding he's getting in the backyard is from his neighbors to the south. It's not from our property. So again, as this property is graded, you can see that's the topography line that's indicating the ditch line, that low point that goes right through the property and heads out to the northeast where it ties into Salt Creek. So from a stormwater management perspective, we have to take into account all the water that's coming to us, not just our 4.5 acres. But we have to take into account when we do our pond, our stormwater management facility, all the water that's making it to that point of analysis, what we call our point of analysis. So where that is, if you can zoom out just a little bit, back to that corner. So this entire drainage area that's coming off of this property right here, everything to the east of us, everything to the south, and to the southeast, everything that's coming down this drainage area, we have to design for and account for in this pond right here. So now we don't have to slow it down. We don't have to detain that water per se, but we have to account for it. So anything that's happening out on this property right now I'm sorry, not on this property, but on Slate Creek, some of the problems these two gentlemen here in front of me have spoken about should get nothing but better. So the idea would be this low point right here, you can see it. You can see how that topography is leaning towards this upper corner. The idea would be you do grading right here and start to dam up some of that with a pond in this area. Now, what we would want to do is back that off as much as we could and still not get into the sanitary sewer easement here. So we've got enough room to outfall the pond and be able, as I was saying in my presentation, spread out the water. So we're not directing it in a hard channel right into the side of that bank where I think this gentleman here was saying it's a little bit steeper. It's steeper on that side right there.
How steep is that, you said it was about, from your yard?
From my yard,
Yes.
it's about 6 foot, 6 to 10 feet, goes straight down or on an angle.
You can hardly walk down.
And then my drainage from my gutters are underground and go to that culvert. And if the water rises above, then my gutters start coming over the top. And right now, it flows pretty heavy. And Don's backyard, sometimes the water starts coming back to about half of his backyard. And then it gets worse as you go down. And it's just underdeveloped. I mean, they just didn't do proper drainage from the beginning of time. You know, but nobody can do anything about it. What do? Oh, chip in to get better drainage?
So with what, unfortunately for any developer upstream, whatever inadequacies may have been graded or done or not done when Slate Creek was done, we have to account for that now.
Right.
So if there's not an adequate channel downstream for us to tie into, that means it's more stringent on what our stormwater requirements are going to have to be on our site.
Right.
Because we can't let more water out that's going to either erode or eat out a channel and cause any flooding issues.
Or prevent people's gutters from
Exactly.
draining into that culvert.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Okay.
I have some questions about sidewalks. You guys are gonna be required to have sidewalks on both sides, correct?
We've got one sidewalk proposed
So will it be on the right side or left side?
on the north side, on the upper side, where we have less lots.
And then I know it was at the lot and it was a beautiful, beautiful piece of land. I know the sunsets part of the property are just amazing. So I kind of understand where these neighbors are coming from, and I'm so sorry. And so this is gonna be a very tough decision, no matter how you look at it, because there's gonna be somebody losing over here, and they're gonna lose the views, they're gonna lose, a lot of the sense of nature out there. I have another question, the trails. I know the Soccer Farms has trails going through it and everything else. Are you guys within proximity to any of those trails? I don't see anything here. Is that?
No, ma'am, we did talk about, if there was a good place or a reason to do a trail on this, we chose not to do a trail and to extend the sidewalk down the road. That's where the logical pedestrian connectivity would be. I don't believe there's a trail system in Slate Creek that we would tie into. If there was, we would have made a connection into that.
So I guess my other bigger question too I have is, when you have all those construction trucks, and you're gonna know that there is gonna be a road that you're gonna be opening up from one side of Benny to the other side of Benny. Which one is the street that you think you're gonna be bringing in all those trucks out of? Because I do know what they're talking about. Benny Avenue Northwest on the east side is very narrow. So are you gonna be coming through the other side then, with all those construction trucks?
I guess it depends on which side of the room I want to yell at me, right? We haven't gotten to that level of thought yet, Ms. Hicks. I will say, and I thought about this when we were listening to some of the folks talk about staff, and I want to address that here in just a second. What we've done in the past, we've met with neighbors and had discussions about construction traffic, where the best place is to bring it in, what are the best times to bring it in. The good part about it is, with a site like this, it's 4.5 acres, it's fairly small. You're not going to be bringing in heavy equipment every day. So, people bringing in dozers and excavators, that's going to come in once, it's going to stay on the site till the site's, excavated and the grading's done. They're pulled off site. Now, you're still going to have a concrete truck that comes in to pour somebody's foundation. You're still going to have somebody coming in that's bringing a truss system to put the roof on the house. So you are still going to have construction traffic, but it's not going to be any heavier construction traffic that you would, than you would have had in Slate Creek when they were building lots 10 through 38 after they built the first 10. So if the road itself, the Slate Creek Road, the new road that we would be putting in would be built, from a thickness standpoint of the asphalt base to town standard. I'm not sure what section this side of Benny Avenue is. I do know the street's obviously narrower. I mean, you can see on our drawing, we're having to yank that down to meet the existing pavement.
And I guess that's another question too. Do you guys have any more of that eminent domain, or any more of that way where that can also meet up with the other one and make it the same wide square footage as far as the fee?
That might be something we could talk with the town about. We didn't survey all of that in there. What we get into a lot of times with this is when we're trying to improve existing roads that are not part of the project. You already got public utilities in there, you've got landscape, people planting flowers and trees and mailboxes. So I couldn't commit to that planning commission right now.
All right, you guys mentioned that there may be chances of a small retaining wall on the one property facing her property. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. How high do you think that will be, and where do you think the water is gonna go if you do decide to build a retaining wall?
We've not looked at a retaining wall. I can't speak to that. If Brad, do you want to speak to that conversation?
When I talked to, I think Lisa, is it Lisa? And we were talking about her backyard and so forth, and I told her that that the transition between her yard to our new yard, there's a grade change, and that we may need to use a retaining wall. Now, we won't know for sure until we get further into it with some grading plans and so forth. But what I was telling Lisa was that this retaining, if we were to put a retaining wall, that would help define between the two yards. And then I also told her that to further define the between two yards, we would use a split rail fence or something to just differentiate between the 2 yards. I apologize if it was missing communication. I don't think I ever said a privacy fence. That's like those sound barriers at the interstate. I don't want one of those up against our house, and their maintenance nightmares and so forth. And in trees, pine trees up against the house, they look real good when they're 6 foot tall, but when they're 20 foot tall and dropping limbs and stuff, we don't want that. But so if we use a retaining wall to help with the transition between two properties, we would do that, and it would be very professional looking and look nice. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, you did, sir. Thank you so much. I do understand. I sell houses and everything to that area too, and I love that area. I mean, you guys, Dr. Farm subdivisions are absolutely beautiful homes. Right away concerns me as far as what you guys were talking about. There's a lot of children that live on that side of town. They do play, they do ride their bikes, they do go in and out of those properties. As you're coming out, if you're looking out and you're not watching, and you have a truck coming in and out of the Benny Avenue on this east side of the town, well, on the east side of this new development, if it was to pass, I'm concerned about the kids. I'm concerned about the visibility, that you're not gonna be able to see these children coming out of there. Because right now, I can tell it's very hard to even see coming out of, getting into Benny Avenue. How will you,
From
how
Stafford,
will-
from
from their east side, if you're looking at Benny Avenue, if you're coming out of there into, there is between Weddle and then there is Benny. So like right here, can you show us the other map? Well, please. So yeah, right there. So that road right there, that's so narrow. I mean, right there in between that corner where you got, it's not completely straight. Then it's not straight at all. It's kind of goes into a loop, it goes into a circular thing, and then it kind of goes to the left, but it's not completely straight. I'm just concerned about kids. I'm concerned about, I don't know, maybe even using the other side of the, the road. Maybe a better idea, just bringing in, construction work, just because it's wider. And then, exactly, and then you got the issues with you guys living on that side of town, so. I don't think that there is an easy way to put it, but,
So I have another thought along with what Joanne was saying. Well, if you go back to the other ones with the houses, right there. If you were to, and I'm just throwing this out, if you were to put the road in, but have a dead end to the right, and no access out to the right, and that is a lot of houses. And if you were to dead end, have that street there and reduce the number of houses, that would reduce the number of traffic going out to the left side through the existing neighborhood. And it's just something that I'm looking at, to the extent of what I heard tonight. A lot of houses close together, going out the right-hand side, many very tough to turn. I drove back there today. That is a very narrow road, and I did see a lot of activity there that it would be a little dangerous. Now, if you did do a dead end there, you would have the opportunity potentially to open it up in the future if that was feasible. But this would then dead end, and this would make that community, once again, closed loop. And it's just a thought. I'm just throwing it out there to the other commissioners here as of what I thought.
Chairman Johnson, are you saying that they would come in from Walters and then turn right onto Vinny, and then the cul-de-sac would be near the Weddle. The Weddle.
They would come in from the left-hand side
I'm
into
with
that neighborhood
like
through that.
Walters is Walter from, yes.
Yeah, through the existing neighborhood. That's there.
Walters is further toward the west,
Okay.
and then
Yes,
right on Vinny,
yes.
and then
Come in Walters, then turn on to Vinny, but then Vinny would not flow all the way through. And that would sort of close that neighborhood off.
keep it the way it was.
And one good one positive thing with that is if you have Vinny connected from both sides. I mean, I understand that you're shooting for empty nesters, people 55 and older. You're not calling it a 55 and older community, but knowing the young people who work at Virginia Tech and young people who are looking for houses, looking to start families, the price range that you just listed is right in their alley. And what that's going to do is that's going to draw. I mean, we've seen a lot of subdivisions come up in front of us, but what that's going to do is that's going to draw families straight to that lot, and which means it's going to increase the amount of kids. You have increase the amount of bikes on Vinny, which means you have kids on Weddle. You're going to have kids on Vinny. I like the idea of Chairman Johnson. It's just an idea, but I mean,
And Tom, you had a point.
Yeah, I would be opposed to blocking that road off for a number of reasons. One is the emergency, the police, the fire. The other is you've got to get trash collection, recycling down there. How are they gonna turn around now or back out? You've also got snowplow, you've got all kinds of different things that are going on now. Blocking the street is not a very good idea. I'd rather see, and you've mentioned it, of maybe the town and the developer trying to see if there was a way to widen that street or something, or take care of that corner. I don't know if there's a way to take care of that corner or not. But if there is, then that's an avenue that we should try to pursue. And that would be something that would be up to the town.
Yeah, I think we mentioned like a turnaround one place. And we flip flop that turnaround and say, okay, and again, I'm going out there, Steve, bear with me. We reduce the number of homes and allow then at the tail end of that, a cul-de-sac right there, at the end of that street, that would allow a turnaround, but then it would dead end there, you know, to address some of the.
It would address some of them, but not all.
Yeah, you're right.
I just want to put out there, I applaud that you guys are trying to build something there, but this ain't it. I would not approve this at this point. I think it's way too dense. I think that if you came back to us with a CUP for the current zoning, I would be a lot happier. The number of patio homes we've approved this year is astronomical. And I understand we want, affordable housing and things that look nice, but I don't want any more patio homes. I don't want any more townhouses in front of us. I want single family homes that we can be proud of in Christiansburg. And I think that the patio home market is going to explode. We've approved way too many this year. The density back there needs to match more appropriately.
Okay. Could you jump back to maybe the aerial for just a minute? I just did want to touch on one thing before it slips me off. So there has been some talk about Stafford and how tight it is to make that turn. I just wanted to remind the commission that with the approval of the Clifton Town Center project, part of that project is widening Stafford in this area. So that whole section of Stafford Drive around Pepper's Ferry, back to Point Stewart is going to get wider. So that will be improved.
I don't think our problem is with the Stafford Drive. I think our biggest problem is with Benny Avenue.
No, some of the residents were saying when you get out to Stafford, it's hard to make that turn.
Yeah, oh, okay, I
Because,
understand what you're
because
saying.
it's narrow, you've got some sight distance and people, the thought was people would come all the way up Palmetto and come down. So this section of Stafford is going to be improved. So hopefully that intersection is going to be improved, right?
Well, then too, I cannot really tell you, there is a lot of activity going through Fairmont. So I tell you, the traffic is not only gonna go this way, those are gonna go this way. And so, and the chances are of any avenue being used, a lot more of what you guys were talking about than the 100 cars per day, and was that the number you said?
For our development, yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's gonna be probably multiplied probably by 3 or 5 times more, if not more. Another question I have is about the depth of the stormwater.
No, yeah, I'll call you back.
What will the depth of that stormwater pond, do you think
Okay.
is gonna be?
Well, first of all, it wouldn't have water in it all the time. It would just be an open basin. So there's not gonna be standing water in the pond all the time. So I can't tell you right off the top of my head, Ms. Hicks, we haven't engineered. So,
Because here is the thing that I understand about also the wildlife and things like that, and I'm very excited about homes. And I'm in real estate, I mean, who doesn't want to sell homes right now in this crazy market? But, one of the things that I have found out over time was, with creeks and the way the land is designed right now, you have a lot of animals that come to the creeks because it's accessible to them to be able to be used. As far as the stormwater ponds, sometimes they're so deep down that the animals don't have the access to be able to go into them through water and stuff like that. Do you think that this is gonna be the case, that it's gonna be difficult?
well, we don't have, the creek's not on us. It's not on this property, so we're not taking a creek away. And the stormwater facility itself, again, it's not gonna have water in it all the time. The only time you'd have water in it is if you've had a storm event. And then it fills up and then it drains out.
A hole with grass. Yeah.
I think I got to agree with you in a lot of different things, the density of the amount of homes that you want to put in there in such a small piece of space. I mean, I think I understand where you guys are coming from. You want to make the income. There's a lot of more developments that we have agreed to within the last several months and years. But I do think that, I mean, the neighbors are speaking, and those are the people who are gonna have to live with you guys, well, not with you guys, but the new people that are gonna be moving in there. And I think, like they say, it's not the depth, it's the width.
Yeah, and I think if you look at coming in from the right-hand side, that neighborhood is so much different than the left-hand side. And that's why I was leaning towards, okay, you have a certain theme with the patio homes that are off on the left side now. This would sort of complement them and to go along with that. But yet it really then, I feel bad for the people on the right-hand side because it's now a nice, peaceful, spread out area that you're going to take away a beautiful view, and you're going to have a lot of activity coming out of that area, going out towards Stafford. So that was just my takeaway from what I heard tonight, that the neighborhoods are very much different. And older homes, bigger lots versus patio homes, newer, different type of clientele. And, but nothing against the builders. Oh, well, I think your homes are fantastic and I think, first class.
I would say that the current zoning that's there now, and Will maybe can respond, is the same zoning. The only place I could find it in Christiansburg in the built subdivision was Diamond Point. And so I don't think that a subdivision like Diamond Point is really feasible for this area. We say it looks dense, but it's a lot. It's not as dense as the one that y'all approved last week. It's not as dense as Winsong Heights. It's not as dense as Wynwood Estate. So it's such a better product than what has already been approved. And so it's just a little frustrating from a developer's standpoint to build exactly what the comprehensive plan is asking for and what it looks like it, and then the commission not be able to do it.
I think from our perspective too, I think there are two different products. And I do agree, the homes are absolutely gorgeous. You have built a very nice product. The problem is that on the right side is more of a commercial, multi-family location area. People are just buying their homes, so they knew that the developments were coming. I think where we're at right now in this, we're between, a lot of development, not a lot of development, and then some development. So I think you're just put in the middle. And I think it's just hard, we're trying to make sure that you do get what you want, and we want to work with you, all of us do, and we all want to be seeing beautiful homes there. And like I said to you, this is not gonna be a very easy decision, because somebody's gonna lose. I mean, they're gonna lose their backyard, they're gonna lose their views, they're gonna lose their animals and things like that, so we gotta work with everybody. And I don't think we didn't even get that amount of people to show up, a lot of people to show up to complain about this, well, that's not too bad.
Well, I think a lot of people sent in, this is ended by signing the petition. I think that was part of their, way of voicing their opinion. Although, as you explained, some of the information you corrected. So that's good.
I just want to add, Steve has been in front of us many times, and he knows that sometimes we just tell him like, this isn't it, and he comes back, and usually the next plan is way better, and everybody's like, oh my God, why was this the plan in the first place? So, I hope that you guys come back and have a new plan if we decide not to pass this, because I think that it's close, but it's not there. If that makes sense. Like, I don't think that 8 is the answer, but I don't think 18 is the answer. I think that it's somewhere in the middle.
Well, and I think, Ms. Briggs, if I may, to your point, I'm sorry if I seemed a little frustrated when you said that a few minutes ago. But, I have had the opportunity and the privilege to be in front of you many times over the last few years. And I will tell you, when we did this, and those up there, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago on, where we hope to go with the Clifton Town Center. And States and Homes, and that part of the discussion, the townhomes they're selling there in the villas. The villas are very set, if you remember, the villas were a little bit bigger. It's still a townhouse because it's an attached, but it's a bigger unit, it's got a garage. They can't build those fast. And the townhomes, they can't build fast. And it's not students. It's people just like Mr. Clark was saying, people that are coming in looking for places to live in Christian. So knowing what the market is doing out there and what people want, the single family subdivisions, we're still doing a lot of. We're just not coming to you for approvals because most of them are by right. The Kensingtons, the other developments that are going around this area that are single family homes, there are still a lot of single family detached, quote, regular subdivisions going on out there. But the market is just hot for what Slate Creek is, what the Adams were, what Brian and Richard want to do here. Like you said, you guys have approved some other patio rents. I just hope the planning commission doesn't get to a point where it's a specific use and they say, we don't want any more of that. If there wasn't a market demand for that type of housing, whether it's for a family or whether it's for a 55 or older, we know from all the housing studies that the planning district commission has brought to all the localities here, the lack of housing we have in the New River Valley. And the lack of housing, especially single level, one level living, is just not out there. And yet, there may be a lot that's been approved here recently, and I don't know what your numbers are, as far as what the town has approved, but that doesn't mean, another good project, another good product is not worth your consideration.
A good point, Steve. There is a housing study development in the New River Valley is working on. I think it's still in preliminary status, but I would like to get a hold of that and share it with the commissioners, and I think I can do that pretty easily to address the points that you've made and you made as well. To what is the specific need? Are we meeting that need, and which direction we should be going. So far, as Ashley, you mentioned, we've approved a lot. However, we've also taken our time. And we've really done a lot of study and investigation before we approved everything that we've done. The town center, that's spot on. Multi-use, business residential, that was right in the needs of the New River Valley. So I think we're all looking at this wisely, and I think we all need to take our time to make sure that we do make the right decision. I think we all have in the back of our mind, oak tree, you know, to the extent that got away from us. And it's still growing, you know, so this is not our intent to make another oak tree. It's our intent to make sure that we put the proper housing in there that would adequately resolve some of the needs of Christiansburg today, as well as not take away from some of the beauty that is there with the existing homes. So I do have a question for the commissioners. Have you guys been to that area?
Yes.
Just to show of hands? Excellent, good, good. So we have a few that are missing tonight. And Mark, I would encourage you to go out there too, just drive through. It was eye-opening a little bit. I didn't know that all that was back there. So as commissioners, I think it's our duty to make sure that we do drive back through there.
Just to add one point. I was gonna say, I mean, just to add a lot of, since I've been on the commission, a lot of activity, a lot of permits have come across, have been on that Pepper's Ferry. So that's a lot of homes that we've approved going in there, so it's gonna look a lot different than what we see right now over the next 5-10 years. So that's something to take into consideration. And gentlemen, I can't remember your name, but you did mention with these additional homes, there is going to be an additional strain on the fire departments, the school buses, snow removal, all those things we have to take into consideration. And yes, I wasn't talking about the students, I'm talking about young professionals. Because a lot of people, like my wife works in Virginia Tech, I work in Botetourt County, if you live in Christiansburg. You have a lot of people that can't buy in Blacksburg. Christiansburg is like, it offers the best of both worlds. Some that's up and coming, but some that also offers you that, what they pretty much have right now. So just to have that option still in Christiansburg rather than it turn into we call this sleeper, bedroom communities. You don't want it to be that. Christiansburg has a lot to offer. So that's just something I wanted to say there.
Will the fire truck be able to make it to the right side of Denny Avenue without problems with them?
Well, the what?
The fire trucks. They do go, well,
have to now, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, they can make it. The problem is if you dead end this new street, you're not gonna turn a fire truck around, you're not gonna turn a school bus around, like, nothing's gonna turn around in front of that. Well, currently, you have to cul-de-sac it somehow. I mean, school buses don't come down some of the streets in an Oak Tree because the cul-de-sac should be tight.
Well, this is scheduled together with town council.
So this is scheduled for town council July 28th. So it'll be back in front of you all July 20th, which is our next meeting.
Okay, so we won't have a chance to hear public comment again from town council. Or when's the public hearing with town council?
The 28th.
28th. Yeah, so we meet before that.
Yes.
You said the 20th.
I have a quick question. You obviously heard from a lot of the neighbors, you heard from the planning commission department. I know you wouldn't want to hear, let's make, less houses, let's build less homes, but is that a medium that we can work out with you guys as far as you coming back to us? Or even just telling us now, you know, we can build 15 now, or if you guys approve, we can work with something like 14. Or is that a medium that we can try to kind of, so everybody here is on the same page and we can kind of move on and allow you to do your project and everybody's happy. Well, I know everybody's not gonna be happy, but we can do the best that we can as far as this goes.
Well, when the property come up for sale, you do a feasibility study and look at how much the roads cost. The roads are horribly expensive, and hook up the sewer lines and the water lines and the stormwater main, just horribly expensive. I mean, when we're talking about 18 homes at 300, it's $5.4 million, and we're hoping to make 10%, 10% on your return. So we're investing $4.5 million into this property, and so you can't divide those up into 10 or 12 lots and sell houses for $600,000. People can't pay that. So you're trying to find out, how many lots and divide it in, and so now like I say, under the current zoning, it's zoned like Diamond Point with these big huge lots, and under the zoning like the adjacent neighborhood, that's R1, then maybe you can get 12 lots in there, 12 to 14, because of the road frontage. But from the square footage, it's you can get up to 19 lots based on the square footage. And so when people are saying that this is too dense, I took one of the lots and figured the square footage for the house and the garage and sidewalk and road, and it comes out to about, I think it was 38% of the lot coverage. So when these neighbors are saying they want a fence to block off, why? Because you got 62% of green space still back there, and it's beautiful houses. So it's not like you're looking on student housing or parking lots or apartments. You're looking at really nice homes with manicured yards. So you don't really need to block it off so you can see it. It's a nice looking development. So yeah, we're if you say build 16, we still have to build the same length of road and the same length of water lines and the same length of and the same stormwater management. So now I think we might have to back out of the project, and maybe one of these other bigger firms might want to come in and do something. But we kind of got our proven plan, and I would really encourage all of you to go up to Wynwood Estates, off of Radford Street, and look at that development. Those houses are 15 feet apart, just like what we plan here. And when you drive through and look, it's just very pleasing, very nice looking. And of course, they're different demographics. These people that buy these, they don't want big yards. They don't need big yards. And so yeah, it's a product. And we have a builder right now that's building off of Glade Road, Raven Point, selling them faster than you can build. I mean, there is a demand. There's a demand there. And we just want to build on what we started in Wynwood Estates and use that same plan. And I think it'd be very beneficial to the town.
And Brian had actually asked us early on when we started the project, he said, let's look at a layout that had a 45-foot width lot and a 40-foot, and we laid that out. We obviously got more lots, and they said, he and Richard both said that doesn't feel right. Let's back it off. We don't need, even though I guess the 45 lot just got approved recently, but we backed those off. So I mean, we came down from what we had originally thrown some concepts on, to take it back to what we've got right now. But I can commit to the commission that we are going to go back and take some of these citizen comments that we've got over the last 24 or 48 hours over the emails and address as many of those as we can.
That's correct. So on the east side here that backs up to these people's property, you know, in our information, it said 5 feet setbacks. But it was never going to be 5 feet along that side because of the easement that was there. Our product that we're building are 50-foot lots, 35-foot buildings, that leaves 7.5 feet on both sides. And that's what we had designed it for. And so after we first had our initial conversation with the neighbors, you know, Steve and I started looking at it, and I believe that we can go for the R1 side yard setback. You know, these people, their zoning is R1, and under R1 zoning, it's a 10-foot side yard setback. And I can commit to that right now. Yeah, we can do 10-yard setback, double what was in our earlier literature, but we can do 10-yard. And we're even, after some more calculations, we may even be able to slide it down and get to 15 feet side yard setback, which is by right in the rural residential. And we can do that on like say on the right-hand side up there. On the left-hand side, we have the open space. So you know, we're not crowding a house, you know, on the left-hand side. So as right now, you know, we can guarantee you that we can change it to 10-foot yard setback, side yard setback, and then we're going to relook at it hard to see if we can't do a little bit better than that as well.
So when I look at your plans right now, can you go back to the plans where you got all the houses and the stormwater pond? The stormwater pond is a large area, and I'm so grateful you brought that in, but do you actually need, because I see that big piece of land in there, and then I see all this small pieces of land.
Right.
Do you have to actually, I know, I'm very concerned about the stormwater pond and stuff, but is there any room where you can kind of just, how much do you need of stormwater?
Right.
You know, area, so you can actually make the probably the lots a little bit wider, and then maybe take a little bit of that, but I don't know.
Right.
What
So the actual stormwater calculation, that's part of the engineering cost. It's very expensive. And so you don't spend that money until you find out whether or not you can build the product. And so we're trying to hold that land available for the stormwater facility, and then also open space where we can put some park benches or whatever, you know, for, you know, as far as amenities for the homeowners. So yeah, we feel pretty confident that we can slide it down, you know, to the 10-foot, and we're hoping to get another 5 foot beyond that.
So we do have a little bit of room, between here and this one right here. So you can kind of see that's the existing easement over that existing sanitary sewer line. The only way of moving any further is you'd end up pushing that lot into the sewer easement, or you have to relocate the sanitary sewer, which again, I mean, that's one piece of infrastructure that is actually there in place that we could use as is. So again, that's just additional cost if you're ripping out sewer and having to move it there on the side. And, you know, the only place to move it at that point would be to move it down on this property line, which then you're working right up against the folks on this Lake Creek.
So that is gonna be a nice area. I mean, it's a large piece of land.
So I think we've asked a lot of questions. Commissioners, do we feel that we have enough to actually take a vote tonight?
If they want the opportunity to make changes or address any comments before we vote, we'll get in this meeting. That's fine. If they want us to vote now, if they feel like they're not gonna make any changes, this is what the best option is that they think that they can present.
I understood, and sorry, I think what I understood was you're gonna take a look at the setbacks. You're gonna take a look, I heard park benches mentioned this for the first time. And I'd like to see what that area would really look like a little bit more. We talked about screening. We talked about retaining the wall potentially. I think there's a lot that we talked about, and I think we should give you guys an opportunity to come back and address some of the issues that were brought up tonight before we jump into a vote.
And that's my opinion. I'll throw that out to the rest of the commissioners to see how they feel.
I agree with that. Same here.
Mr. Johnson, just to that point, we would like that too. We made a commitment to the neighbors that we were not going to make any of the changes that they asked us about until we had this meeting tonight. But we wanted to see what the planning commission had to say and other things that you guys wanted. So just to honor our commitment to the neighbors, that we would go back and look at these things. We would appreciate you waiting until the 20th.
Well, it sounds like we're all on the same page. So let's postpone the vote, and will our next meeting is the 20th, you said?
20th of July.
Of July. And then come back with your proposals, and then we'll review this once again, and I encourage all of you to come back to the meeting. You're welcome.
People come back on the 20th?
It's not a public hearing, so you can speak. except during public.
Well, do you think, is there a way that you can talk to planning department and other departments and maybe bring in whoever you need to talk to and see what is there that we can do to probably possibility of widening out a little bit of the, Benny Avenue. Because I do think that that is a very narrow.
Do you mean the intersection of Vinnie and Stafford?
Benny and Wendell.
Benny's well.
Yeah, Weddle and Benny, and then
Because it sounds like Stafford will fix itself as we put it in the other development. That street's going to right. So I think that.
And I have a question. There's sidewalk from Walters to the dead end of Vinnie, some combination. I can't see on the I can't remember how far.
Goes up to the storm sewer up there.
Where do you want to look?
Walters, Vinnie, how much of that has sidewalk?
This is coming off of Pepper's Ferry, the sidewalk, the gap.
and that's what we built on.
It picks up Benny,
All the way.
it wraps around, right, so it wraps around the exterior of Slate Creek to Benny, and then you've got, you haven't stopped.
Got it. Okay.
That was just a question for other stuff. Yeah, if you could find out like, mistakes that happened, what the town's right of way is for potential widening of that piece of Vinnie Avenue. How
I
does that
think you all are also interested in if there's any information for Almeda.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that's what I think. Or
Oh,
possibly
I
future.
So they connect, Walters and Alameda?
Oh, yeah. That's-
Yeah, that would be good.
That'd be good.
Because that will alleviate a lot of the traffic coming into the main road of Benny Avenue. That Benny Avenue is gonna become a very used road on Northern Shore.
Could be a throughway when
It's gonna.
Clifton's built.
What size of road is gonna be a two-way traffic?
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have a plan. And at this point, I'll close the discussion.
And if you don't mind, just since we have a fair amount of the public here, just further information on the process. So,
Yes.
the Planning Commission will meet on the 20th of July. They will likely give a recommendation that day to Town Council. Then this will go to Town Council on July 28th. And this process sort of repeats itself. So there will be another public hearing in front of Town Council where the applicant and citizens will have the same opportunity to address council with any questions or comments.
Good, thank you. Okay, so closing the discussion, moving on to point number 5. However, I'm going to look at you, Commissioner Briggs. We would like to have our presentation tonight. Given the time that was, once again, here, late hours. Up to the commissioners, I guess I can ask the commissioners on that as to whether we want to continue with the presentation.
And it's an agenda item, so if you all want to not do it tonight, then probably.
Yeah,
How long do you think?
I can be quick and brief if people, I mean, it's not a long presentation.
So this is taken from Christiansburg Bikeway Walkway Committee and the Blacksburg Bikeway Walkway Committee got together, I think in February. This was one of the things, and I think it was that to be about 5 or 6
Yeah,
minute
five
presentation.
minute presentation, 1 minute on it.
It was a 10 each.
Got it, got it. All right.
It's curious.
We'll take a couple minute break and.
Sure, let's take a 3-minute break.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
You're welcome to stay.
Thank you, guys, for coming out. You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Riggs, take it away.
So I'll do this. So, this has changed a tiny bit from the last time, so I'll start with the project list that we're gonna talk through. So we've got fall towers that have been installed for quite some time now on the Huckleberry. And then I'll briefly show you what phase 3 looks like that's finished. North Franklin Street is currently under construction, everyone can see it. The park, and then some extension projects and the Cambridge Trail. So there's 6 call towers that have been installed on the trail. And then there's been additional ones placed in the Park Raider Sports Complex, the Downtown Park, and the Depot Park. They're all solar powered and they have cellular connection. They can be hardwired in the future, but right now we're operating off cell service. That's a nice map of where they are. They've got a blue light.
Right, I've seen the one on Cambridge.
And so this is my slides are.
Yep, sorry.
My bad. So Huckleberry Trail expansion, this is the Christiansburg High School. It wraps now behind, number 1, drops through, the oak trees, runs along the fence line, by the school, by the soccer fields, comes straight down North Franklin in front of the school. And then now there's a trail that takes you all the way to Goldley. Yeah, additional funding was secured, which I was very excited about to get the trail in front of the school.
Looks nice too. I drive by it every day.
It's very well used.
Yeah, and there were some trees that did have to be removed, and there was some public concern with that. You can kind of make it out. I mean, every effort was made to sort of jog the trail to preserve as many of those mature trees that are there. And the ones that were cut down here, there have been new trees.
I was gonna say, they have been replaced with new stuff.
So actually, I see the trail come down by the rec center, down Franklin Street, then all in front of the high school. Does it then cut back through?
So right now,
Oak Tree?
it kind of has a nice little entrance onto Oak Tree. Oak Tree is too narrow for sidewalks
Right.
with this culvert, so no, it just currently dead ends essentially into that neighborhood. But there is a nice light that we put in, so you can walk safely kind of through the driveways back towards where you can pick up the Huckleberry Trail on the other end of the development through the trails that Roger Wood did install.
Okay.
Behind like the.
Okay, and then that goes out to Cambria then?
Yeah.
How does it connect to the rec center, behind the rec center?
So, I don't know if you have a picture of that in this presentation.
We don't, we can pull it up.
What's the name?
It's like right at the entrance of Oak Tree, right?
So, Will's gonna point it out, but,
So
it kind of
it comes down here, comes up, and this is where it kind of splits. So the one trail runs along Cambria Street and comes to the rec center.
So it actually crosses Franklin right there?
It doesn't cross Franklin.
Right at the rec center.
At the rec center, that's where it stops at
right.
one point.
Oh.
There's one of the bike share racks there. And then on the other side, it comes down here. And it comes through here. And then it comes in here, and this is where we're looking, where it crosses down and then hops on. It comes through here, it actually comes through here. And then it works its way down.
So there's still plans for a road to go from, say, Food Lion there around up to Farmhouse?
Correct, so that's the connector.
That bike would go along with it?
Right, that's the connector road project that we
Right.
come
All the
here,
way to the park.
right, and then we stop. And
Yeah.
then we go through this building. And it comes, it kind of snakes in here and ties in, and then it ties in.
Okay, I don't want to sound stupid, but how long is the trail?
Well, that's a good question. How long is the trail in entirety, or how long is the trail in Christiansburg?
In its entirety?
was 13 miles, right?
That's way more than that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think, we had talked about this at the last meeting, and now I can't remember what the answer was, but with all the spurs in Blacksburg and all the spurs in Christiansburg, I'd say it's at least 20 to 25 miles. And Blacksburg is taken all the way out to Pendapas in this new bike park, so I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
I think it was 6.6 miles from the mall to the library in Blacksburg, and then we put the bridge in. That took up to about 8 from the new Christiansburg to, like from the rec center over. So this adds another
But you
mile.
have to think too, that Blacksburg started this far before.
Oh, yes.
And so, and every project and subdivision that came to planning for years and years and years, that we're supposed to connect one way or another to the trails, so it was kind of a restriction for them to allow them to pass it.
So it connects all the way to Manhattan's?
Kind of.
It's not a paved trail, but yeah, I mean, if you were a good biker, you could do it.
Yeah.
I'm so concerned about the sidewalks and the trails with the new people that come in.
So, next slide. And then North Franklin, sidewalks, I think you guys have kind of seen the intersection pieces starting to be built. The green parts are mostly in place, and then there's sidewalk all around there. We closed the blue areas or things that have been closed, so we closed some entrances to make it safer in through there. There's 8-foot sidewalks, to be completed, and then there's a new pedestrian signal at, Independence North Franklin, which is there.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it uses the existing east shoulder of the bridge over Crab Creek, and the NS rail line. Yeah,
You're on the next one.
am I on the wrong one?
We talked about the.
I was on the wrong one, I'm sorry. Construction scheduled to begin, that's already beginning.
Yeah.
That was last thing. I got ahead of myself. You put all the slides out of order. I had the old version. Yeah, same paper. This has changed, I think, since the last slide, or did you update it?
This is probably, your concept, you know, the idea being that the sidewalk connectivity,
Yeah, passive recreation, nearly 2 miles of 10-foot wide paved trails. And then the trail system will connect to the adjacent neighborhoods and nearby Huckleberry Trail, hopefully. The design's ongoing at this time. And then this one. And so this is the fun one. So if you know anything about this kind of area, there are some sidewalks. They're not on both sides of the road. So this 8-foot sidewalk would complete the original plan to connect downtown Blacksburg and downtown Christiansburg. It would utilize newly installed pedestrian signal to connect the Huckleberry Trail to Independence through North Franklin, and then use the existing wide east shoulder of the bridge over Crag Creek to add additional sidewalks. Additional VDOT funding was submitted during last summer cycle, and we're waiting to hear about it. Did we hear about it?
I've not heard anything. This idea has the trail, or if you want to call it a wide sidewalk, essentially picking up where you have, so this is the corner of the high school property right here. So, and then it would come down on the other side of Franklin Street, across the bridge, and then tie into the aquatic center, correct?
So is there anything going towards Christiansburg Institute?
So that is not a part of this presentation, but our hope is that we can, you might have to go back to the Google Maps for the show. But in front of the daycare center there, if we could run the trail kind of down that hill there, and then on to Scattergood, and then we've talked about trying to secure funding for a parking lot to make that a trailhead until we're able to secure the millions of dollars that it's going to take to get all the way to downtown Christiansburg. And that way people
can walk straight to Christopher Institute, but also it would help them with a kind of parking area for people to be able to use the trail starting from that. It's kind of on the corner of that last one. And then, is this the Cranberry Trail? Yes. So the first phase would be a combination of 10-foot wide multi-use trails and 8-foot sidewalks that connect the aquatic center, which is the blue box, to at Mill Lane to Cambria Square, initiating at the east-west trail system, so yeah, he's following the line. Which should take you through the proposed train station and then out to the corner where there's sidewalk.
Nice. That'll be a great ride.
It connects the Depot Park Trail project that should be completed by the summer and the above North Franklin Street sidewalk project extension.
That'll be a great ride right there.
And then we also submitted an application for funding with VDOT on that, and I'm assuming also still waiting to hear. The second phase of the project would begin at the terminus of that Cambria Square and connect Roanoke Street to Kiwanis Park, partially utilizing an abandoned line of Norfolk Southern. We've talked about that for a long time in our committee. It's just a very flat roadbed. It would be very easy if we could drop the trail in there and very cost effective.
Kiwanis has been working to develop, they acquire some additional property in between the ball fields and Roanoke Street. So there's an interest there. It would be more of a natural style trail, but kind of there's a potential, down the road to actually tie into that. So you would have just a further connection out to the baseball fields, Kiwanis Park.
And we also submitted an application for phase 2 of the trail. Any questions? That was just a highlight. There are a lot of other projects happening in different pieces of done and not done, but those are the ones we chose to highlight for that presentation.
That was a really good presentation.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Because I did a really good job with that. Can I ask you one question? Do you guys have any pedestrian signal stuff going up on North Franklin Street on the other side by downtown?
Which the intersection with
No, it can be
Cambria
by
and
the
North Franklin?
Magic Street stuff or whatever. There is not really a pedestrian walking
At
on
the
the
Magic
lines or
Street
anything to go from, what?
What part of the street?
On the side where the subway is and.
I mean, you'd have to walk up to the intersection with Wells Fargo, that intersection there has a crossing. But to get one lower,
And even like off of Depot Street and into one side of even Pizza into the other side.
yeah,
of
that one
Depot and
has
everything
needed. We're kind of, if you kind of see North Franklin, we're kind of marching our way towards downtown and making improvements, kind of stepwise off the Huckleberry. The funding from VDOT is really been liking, I guess, for lack of a better word, our Huckleberry Trail plan. So if we can keep tying the improvements to the Huckleberry Trail as we march it to downtown, we probably have a better chance of securing improvements for those along the way. I mean, you think if we did improvements at each light as we kind of marched towards that way, and I think the next light will be, past Kroger. We go that way.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Archie. That was so nice.
We'll close point number 5 and open up point number 6, other business.
So we've had a couple, this is something that's becomes more and more relevant to development projects all the time, but it sounds like maybe stormwater would be another presentation topic that I'm hearing the commission might enjoy to have someone from engineering come to talk to you all about. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and if at the same time, maybe we could bring up the stormwater pieces of the ordinance, so we could kind of see, based on what they're saying, what we currently have in the books, and if there needs to be any adjustments made.
Yeah, and there's a lot there, and I know just enough to say something's wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, the stormwater continues to be a very, very important consideration, not only to the cost of the development, but also to the, you know,
The town, I
to
mean,
the town, to the adjoining properties, and the treatment of the stormwater, so I think we'll add that sooner rather than later to one of these sort of info sessions.
I saw on the news, I think we've already met or exceeded our rainfall for the year.
No, we
Yeah.
definitely got a
So-
lot of rain this year.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
Well, the other one, I'll talk to, the regional commission. I'll see Kevin Bird on the 15th. I think.
there's definitely, I mean, they came probably 6 months ago to council and kind of gave a preliminary, these are the things that we're looking
Right.
at. And I wouldn't expect them to change all that much. So I think some of those highlights are, if anything else, but maybe if there's a full draft report out there as well.
Okay, I'll take that one.
I spoke with, Mr. Krantz from the school board. He was the one that presented at our last meeting. And we just reminded each other that you all had talked about when to do the site visit.
Right.
And so our meeting, your all's meeting will be the 20th. And at the time, the week of the 13th had been floated out for a site visit. So you all don't need to give me a date today, but I would probably like to confirm that with them. It sounded like any day that week would work for the school board. So I'll send a follow-up email to the commission, but just kind of keep that week in mind. And if there's a particular day that doesn't work for you, but you know, we'll probably look, and I was saying we'd probably like to do that 6, you know.
Makes sense.
And I'm gonna speak for myself about this one. This is just my opinion. When we're going to see this side, there is no question in my mind that probably none of us will be against, you know, what's going on in the building itself right now, because they're obviously taking care of the building on College Street, as part of the old middle school. I don't think that, you know, I have been in there, my child has taken classes and then classes and stuff like that with the special needs and stuff. So I know that there has been a lot of work done in that area, but as far as I think the one issue that I have and that a lot of people have, and that I have gotten phone calls about, is the bus station on there, or the bus lot. And I think that's the biggest one of everything. If there was a way for the school board, hey, come back to us and say, hey, we're planning to maybe sell some of that land or develop it or try to do something else that is not a school bus parking lot in the middle of our downtown. I think that's, from my personal perspective, I think that's what I'm having a hard time swallowing, the idea of having that downtown. Because I just definitely don't want to make it look like the Cambria side. And that worries me, because one day I'll be gone and my children will be grown, or your children or grandchildren. Somebody's gonna come and tell us what a horrible decision you guys made. And that's, you know, and that's just my thought, so.
My concern is the maintenance costs. By their own admission, they don't have enough.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last thing I wanted to talk about was I would like to hold a development subcommittee meeting sooner than later for the code item that we were gonna do before we start meetings. Yes, so if the 20th, we'll have our normal meeting on the 20th at 7. If 6 would work, these are the commissioners who had indicated, I mean, all commissioners are welcome to attend. Dan and Jennifer are here tonight, I can confirm with them, but for the ones that are here, I can send the follow-up as well, but if there's a desire to sort of get that going, I would assume just go ahead and try to meet that night.
That works for me.
Why don't you send it out, Will?
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.